Burnout is a very complex issue for many of us. So, coming up next, we're going to talk about three overlooked symptoms of burnout that you should be on the lookout for. Hey, everybody, welcome back to Overcoming Distractions. And if you are seeing me on YouTube, then welcome. We're really trying to get a little more active on YouTube. And if you are on the podcast platform of Apple or Spotify or what have you, then I really do encourage you to hit youtube.com/overcoming distractions, hit the subscribe button. And that goes for you too that might be watching this video. Anyways, so we use this audio and video for both purposes, for both the podcasting, Overcoming Distractions, as well as the YouTube channel. So anyway, we got that out of the way. One more thing, and I've been talking about this, is my book, Overcoming Burnout. It is starting a conversation about those of us who have gone through burnout and those of us who have implemented strategies to recover from burnout and live a life where we can be happy and thrive and not let others control our life. So that's what we're talking about. But I'm going to talk about in just a minute some of the things that we may have overlooked in analyzing whether we are burned out or not. And as I wrote the book, Overcoming Burnout, these are some of the things that came up that I guess, quite frankly, educated me as to burnout. And that's the beauty of writing a book, is when you interview people and you really dig into stories, you not only get educated, but you get a little bit of tough love. Okay. And I think that's what some of us needed. So, but let's go through some of the things that I think I identified. You know, one of the things that I think is important for us to understand when it comes to burnout is that burnout is much more complex than people think. There are so many things that can cause burnout, contribute to burnout, add to that feeling of burnout. I mean, it's not just being, overworked, underpaid, maybe not appreciated. There are other things. There are people that drove themselves into burnout because they had to meet goals. They had to exceed goals. They had to be the person who won the company award every year at the annual meeting, whatever it was. It's complex. People bring past traumas and other experiences into their current state of burnout. So there's a lot of things that can contribute to burnout, and that's why I say it's more complex. It's also misunderstood. Burnout is misunderstood. When I went looking for people to interview for Overcoming Burnout, people said, well, you know what, I took a long weekend and I decided that I had to go hang out at the beach and have a beer or something like that. And you know what, that's fine. And maybe they were approaching burnout and they did what they needed to do to not enter full burnout. But that's not the total story of burnout. And I think it's misunderstood. Burnout can be dangerous. And that's why I say that it is misunderstood, because many of the people that you will be introduced to, if you choose to read Overcoming Burnout, had significant health issues, significant what I would call mental health issues as well. And it not only affected them, but it affected others around them. But you can overcome burnout. And I am a true believer in the fact that you can overcome burnout. It may take some time. It may take some implementing different habits. It may take sticking up for yourself, but you can overcome it. But you need to recognize it before it's too late. And that's why I'm on this crusade of making sure that you understand that you can recognize burnout, you can save your health, and you can save your family, and maybe even save your career if you choose to before you actually burn the boats and go somewhere else. So, but we talk about being tired and irritable, and maybe sometimes we pull the covers over our head in the morning and don't want to go to work. But there were some other signs that I identified when interviewing people that kind of came up over and over again. So I want to go through 3 of them that I want you to be aware of. And if you think you're approaching burnout and you can relate to these, then I think you need to take a step back and analyze whether you are actually heading into a full-blown burnout experience. Okay. So, number 1, when we are burned out or heading towards burnout, we stop doing the things that we enjoy. And that was kind of a wake-up call to me. Several people had indicated to me that they just stopped doing the things that were fun for them. So do you just go home and you're just miserable after work when maybe before you did other things? Maybe you went to the baseball game or basketball game. Maybe you went to concerts. Maybe you played golf. Whatever it is, if you stopped doing it, if you felt you didn't have the time to do those things anymore, then that's one of the signs of burnout. So one solution, and it's as simple as it gets there, folks, is you need to get back out there. Go back and do the things that you love, that you enjoy. Go have some fun. Forget about your job. Forget about your career. Forget about your clients that are driving you nuts or your boss that just wants to ride you into the ground. Okay. Just forget about it. Go have some fun. That being said, if you are completely exhausted and you just don't feel like going out one night, it's okay to say no. And I know I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth here, but it's important for you to make sure that you implement fun and enjoyable activities in your life if you feel like you're heading towards burnout. Number 2, if you over-identify with your work, if that is just you, if that's what you do, when somebody asks you what you do for a living or tell me about yourself, if the only thing you can come up with is your work or career, then it's time to take a step back. There are 2 wedding planners in the book Overcoming Burnout that went through both of them went through very bad experiences with burnout. And both indicated to me when we were talking is that once they realized what was going on, they realized that it was their only identity was that of a wedding planner. They both loved what they did, but it was killing them. And it was killing them to the point where both of these people actually packed up, sold everything they had, including their house, and moved to another part of the country. That's how bad it could get. And the reason they said that was that their entire identity, even within the community, was that of their career and their job. And they couldn't think of maybe working at another company within their region without being linked to their previous career, which was the wedding planner. So if you have over-identified with your career to the point where it's burning you out, then it's time for you to make a change. I always, and I hate to say this, and this is the cynical part of me, but you see people's LinkedIn profiles and it says, husband, father, and then they get into their career. And I always thought that's kind of cheesy, but you know what? There's a little bit of a lesson that can be learned in that. These people don't totally over-identify with their career and their job. They understand that they have a more important role in life, and that is family or their personal life or personal growth. So it's not as cheesy as I thought. I can always be taught another lesson. So if you were working 24/7 to make other people happy, then you have over-identified with your work. Here's how you can begin to solve that problem. And this is a whole chapter in Overcoming Burnout about creating value statements, is you can just take a step back and create some value statements for myself. So I'll give you two examples here. Number one, I will work for a company that values my personal and family time. Oftentimes, people who burn out, they are in a job or career where they are just told or expected to put the job first. Okay. So one of the ways you can put yourself first is by creating value statements. So I will work for a company that values my personal and family time, and they won't invade on that. Another way to put that is my professional life and career will support my personal goals and desires. I learned this in writing the book as well. Your career, your career should drive your personal goals. It shouldn't be the other way around. And I think that that's important. When you get to personal time, you shouldn't just be picking up the scraps from working a 70 or 80 hour week. Okay. So your professional life and your career should support and drive your personal goals. Okay. Resentment. Do you know what resentment is? We hear the word, but bottom line, it's when you feel you were treated unfairly. And just about everybody I interviewed for the book said that they experienced some type of resentment, whether it's to their boss or their clients or their coworkers. I had I had a ton of resentment in the restaurant business. I was so cooked that to the point where when somebody would come up to the counter and say, "Oh, can I have an extra spoon?" I would just be like, "Oh, what a jerk. This guy is asking for a spoon, doesn't already have one. Or why is he asking me for a spoon or a napkin or, And I was so cooked. I was just so resentful as to just these tiny, simple requests. So I don't know if this sounds familiar to you, but if you're just resentful all the time towards your boss, your clients, your customers, your coworkers, other people, then you are either in burnout or you're heading towards burnout. So, and the bottom line is when you don't have boundaries, you haven't set boundaries for yourself, is when you can become resentful. Again, you've heard me talk about this before. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a doctor, but just kind of do the math there. You resent people because you haven't actually set boundaries for yourself. I mean, the only caveat there is that I was running a restaurant and people are going to ask for spoons and forks and napkins in their food. So, the only boundary I was going to set there was to get the hell out. So, but create some boundaries for yourself. If you feel you're heading towards burnout, you feel there are some triggers that are causing resentment, set some boundaries for yourself. So here's a couple examples. Number one, I will only work one Saturday a month. So if you're just in a corporate gig where you're working all the time, you're going in every weekend, then you need to find a way to cut back. You need to set those boundaries. So a sample boundary could be, I will only work one Saturday a month. Jumping off that, I will stay late one evening per week, whatever you're comfortable with. Some people go in at the crack of dawn and leave at 7 or 8 o'clock, and then they bring their laptop home and work after dinner. You'll find people like that in Overcoming Burnout. So some of these boundaries can come in the form of just the hours that you set for yourself and the boundaries and when you're going to shut your phone off or not respond to email. So take a look at some of the ways that you feel your career, your boss, your customers, your clients are invading your personal life and your personal space, and put down on paper what you are willing to put up with. Understand what's making you feel resentful and turn those into boundaries. So a quick recap. Some of the unknowns when it comes to burnout are you stop doing the things you enjoy. Okay, you over-identify with your work and you're feeling resentful. You can pick up Overcoming Burnout on Amazon. It's both Kindle and paperback. It's not meant to scare anybody, but sometimes it can be a hard read. And I did that because I want people to know that burnout can be dangerous. All right. I hope that helps. And as I always say, we'll see you next time.